A Legacy of Broken Promises, Treaties and the Dispossession of Native Lands. Written by Ken Burns, PBS. The story of Native Americans is one of resilience in the face of unimaginable hardship. From the arrival of European colonists, tribal nations faced relentless pressure on their lands and their way of life. Treaties often signed under duress became instruments not of peace but of displacement. The United States government, hungry for land and resources, repeatedly violated its own agreements, pushing tribes westward and eroding their sovereignty. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 stands as a stark reminder of this tragic history. This act led to the forced relocation of thousands of Native Americans, most notably the Cherokee Nation, on the devastating Trail of Tears. Oklahoma, once envisioned as Indian territory, became a destination for tribes dispossessed of their ancestral homelands. The government promised these lands would remain theirs forever. Yet the encroachment continued. The Dawes Act of 1887 dealt another blow to tribal sovereignty, breaking up communal tribal lands into individual allotments. The goal was assimilation, forcing Native Americans to abandon their traditional ways and become landowners within the American system. The consequences were devastating, leading to the loss of millions of acres of tribal land and further eroding tribal governments. Despite these injustices, Native American tribes persevered, holding on to their cultures, languages, and inherent rights as sovereign nations. The struggle for self-determination continued, and in the 20th century, a resurgence of tribal activism began to challenge the legacy of broken treaties and forced assimilation. The fight for recognition and restoration of tribal sovereignty gained momentum, leading to landmark legal victories and a renewed national conversation about the rights of indigenous peoples. The McGirt v. Oklahoma decision brought significant changes, but it also introduced a new set of challenges. Law enforcement agencies now had to navigate a complex web of jurisdictional boundaries. State, federal, and tribal authorities often found themselves working together, yet sometimes at odds. This required a new level of coordination and understanding. Additionally, there were concerns about the capacity of tribal courts to handle the increased caseload. It was clear that while the decision was a landmark for tribal sovereignty, it also necessitated a re-evaluation of how justice is administered across these overlapping jurisdictions. Federal sentencing guidelines have a significant impact on indigenous communities. The McGirt ruling has highlighted the need for a nuanced approach to justice that respects tribal sovereignty and addresses the unique challenges faced by Native American tribes. The McGirt decision underscores the importance of intergovernmental cooperation. Tribal, federal, and state governments must work together to ensure that justice is served while respecting the sovereignty of indigenous nations. This collaboration is essential for creating a legal framework that benefits all parties involved. The future of tribal sovereignty has been significantly influenced by the McGirt ruling. It sets a precedent for other tribes seeking to assert their treaty rights and jurisdictional authority. The decision is a step toward recognizing and honoring the agreements made between the United States and Native American tribes. Moving towards a more just and equitable future requires acknowledging the historical injustices faced by indigenous communities. The McGirt ruling is a pivotal moment in this journey, but it is just the beginning. Continued efforts are needed to ensure that the rights and sovereignty of Native American tribes are upheld and respected.